Hello, Degens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I, of course, am the brofict one, AJ. Before we get going, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that I don't have to take this robe off and get ready for my day job, and I can be a degenerate full-time. Well, let's get into it because ESPN and the incredible writers of Steve Werkisham, Don Van Natta Jr., and Tisha Thompson, all senior writers for the for ESPN, have written this incredible article. And what is this title? The title of the article is Sources, Commanders Boss Snyder Claims Dirt on NFL Owners and Roger Goodell. However, the headline should probably be Dan Snyder is Teflon. No one is coming after Dan Snyder. And what do you mean by this, bro? I mean the shit that has come out in this report, in this article, regardless if it's common knowledge or not, just goes on to show that Dan Snyder will do literally everything in his power to keep hold of what is now the Washington Commanders. Where to start? Holy crap. Well, let's start with the fact that Snyder's been investigated for a long time, and it has been rumored for a long time now that most NFL owners are not a fan of Dan Snyder and want him out as soon as possible. Well, that doesn't matter to Dan Snyder, because how can you get rid of a guy who has dirt on every single owner and the commissioner of the league? Now, how does he have this, information? He wasn't liked by the owners. Most of the owners found him brash, unprofessional, and not respecting of his elders, especially when he first came into the league. So why would any of them trust him with any information? Well, that's because they didn't trust him with any information. Dan Snyder has hired multiple private investigators. It is proven now that he has hired multiple private investigators, not only to dig up dirt on the NFL owners and Roger Goodell, but also to intimidate witnesses. I mean, this is stuff that comes right out of a mob movie. It's unbelievable. And Dan Snyder, he's even quoted with saying, they can't fuck with me. They cannot fuck with me. I have too much dirt. I've got too much going on. They literally, if they get rid of me, the whole NFL is going to blow up. And that's something pretty scary, especially when you're talking about one of the biggest leagues, if not the biggest league in sports. Now, he also is on the record of saying the NFL is a mafia. All owners hate each other. And other owners, no matter what Dan Snyder says, other owners obviously protecting their identity are saying that this isn't true. All owners hate Dan. They don't hate each other. They hate Dan. And now, why is Dan Snyder doing all of this? He is backed into a corner. I mean, ever since those sexual assault allegations came out, the fact that he was unwilling to change the name, which you can have your own opinions on this is not a politics show, but with everything going on, he didn't want to change the name. I understand why he didn't want to change the name, but the name needed to be changed. And so he dragged his feet and he did whatever he could to make sure that it didn't happen. And yet here they are. They are the Washington Commanders after being the football team, after being the Redskins. Now, according to... Oh, sorry, that is the wrong thing. And then I do want to talk about this other thing. The other big glaring thing from this article is the Wilkinson report. And you can see the full article. It is worth a read. I really do recommend you give it a look. It's going to be in the description down below. The Wilkinson report, what is that? That is the investigation that happened into Dan Snyder and the Washington football team regarding what was going on in the office. A lawyer was asked to go in there, take a look at all the evidence, and then brief, essentially, Roger Goodell on what was happening. Except they didn't give Roger Goodell a brief. Why? Because Goodell didn't want a paper trail. The lawyer was getting ready to go in there and give him the report, but Roger Goodell said, I want it orally. I mean, I'm not even going to take that lowball shot there. But he wanted it orally. He didn't want a paper trail. He didn't want any evidence out there that says this is exactly what happened, when it happened, and how guilty Dan Snyder and the Washington football team is. And let's remember, the Washington football team has been the story of not only sexual misconduct towards other co-workers. We're also looking at a hostile work environment. We're looking at, again, private investigators being sent to these employees to make sure they don't talk. This is unbelievable, unprecedented in today's day and age. It's unbelievable. Obviously, the rumors going around are the NFL owners are still trying to get Dan Snyder out as an owner, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sorry. I really don't think it's going to happen. You do not have this much dirt on all of your quote-unquote co-owners and not walk away scot-free. I mean, Now, the government is still investigating into everything that's happening with the NFL, sexual misconduct, and especially the Washington football team, the Commanders, that's still taking a while to get used to. But yeah, Dan Snyder didn't get off the right foot when he bought the team as the youngest owner in the NFL, has not continued to be one of the better teams. I mean, shit, he wanted a Super Bowl in Washington so bad, he started ripping Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell and everything else about the Arizona Cardinals. Well, when you got one finger pointing out, you got four more pointing back. So maybe you were projecting a little bit there, Dan. Maybe you were projecting a little bit. But hey, let me know your thoughts, because this shit is absolutely batshit crazy. Dan Snyder, using movie tactics to not only scare witnesses, scare employees, scare owners, but truly living out like a real life Bond villain on his super yacht, his $36 million estate, and damn, still somehow owner of the team. Now, yes, his wife does have control of the day-to-day operations, but let's be real. We all know Snyder was the reason Carson Wentz is now in a Commander's uniform and not still a Colt. It's unbelievable. It's unprecedented, and something that I never thought we would talk about, but here we are, Dan Snyder just being an absolute Bond villain. Literal supervillain in the real world. And you got the wolf amongst the sheeps of the NFL owners in Dan Snyder. Now, what will come out, if any information on the other owners? We're still waiting on John Gruden's lawsuit to see what happened with all those emails. I would love to see Dan Snyder's emails out of those 666,000 or however many they pulled. Wow. Unbelievable. But with that being said, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that I don't have to go to work and I can quit my day job and be a degenerate full time. And as always, follow us on our socials at Brofict1 on Twitter, at DGenTakes on Twitter, and on all socials. But yeah, Dan Snyder. Unbelievable. With that being said, though, I've been the Brofict1 AJ. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes.